I think in the future,
On screen?
that's fine. I think it's okay. Unless
Sorry,
anybody else-
Commissioner.
She wants to know if we want to turn on the TVs and see ourselves.
Oh, yes. Okay. So, we are now, are we rolling?
We are recording, we need to make sure, you know, not muted and we have video.
Okay,
Looks good to me.
we're back in regular session, and on 3.3. Designation of management reps, team for, the ASME contract negotiations. So, do you have any more information to gather, or are we?
I think you were
ready
going to
for
announce your,
action?
yeah. Do you want to announce the leadership team verbally? Yeah.
yeah.
Sure. The proposal is to appoint Ricky Garcia, Tracy Martin and myself, Debbie Sessions, Gary Stockoff, and Joe Missler as an alternate / observer.
So moved. Second.
All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Do we have any other business that we need to take care of at
I
this
think this is
time?
the moment where you share a little
Yeah,
bit.
I
more to-
wanted to say that, I really,
Tracy?
thank you, Tracy. Missed the, commissioner sharing and the commission and the county administrator updates on these agendas. I think it's really important that we do that on a routine basis. So I don't necessarily have anything, high level to share at this time, but it's one of the only opportunities that we have to really, discuss things in a free form way. And then, so if you have time, I'd love to just bring up a couple of things. The two things that I wanted to bring up, one was the item I mentioned earlier, taking putting forth a resolution to support the Reentry Act and the eliminating the Medicaid exclusion from folks that are in pretrial status in our prison jails. I'd like to put something together and bring that to as a board resolution so that we can send it to our congressional delegation, particularly to Senator Wyden because of his role as the chair of the Finance Committee. For any negotiations that NACO and lobbying team do on that topic, Wyden's going to be a critical person. So that's one item. The other was possibly taking a position on Measure 110. Lane County Board of Commissioners has a really nice process and more staff for their legislative advocacy, and they put together for their process a white paper on this topic that their behavioral health and law enforcement and justice staff all participated in. And it does a great job explaining the current situation with Measure 110 and how things land on the counties. And then states that they don't want to see a repeal, but they would like to see a reintroduction of misdemeanor schedule of punishment for possession. I would love to bring that forward to the board. I think that if that kind of middle of the road stance, it could be very important as we move into the legislative session, because there are so many people advocating either for repeal or for do nothing. And that ignores the fact that there are real problems. And I think the other thing that the Lane County position does really nicely is that it indicates where the other systems issues are that around Measure 110 that need to be addressed. That won't measure that repeal won't do anything about. You know, we need to make some investments in order to make the system, whether we have 110 in place or not. So with your concurrence, I'd love to bring those forward through one of our regular meetings in order to consider them.
We have a agenda setting meeting this afternoon and figure out a timetable for that.
Okay. I just wanted to check in first because it's not worthwhile bringing those things forward unless there's
Oh.
interest. Yeah.
I appreciate
Okay.
the efforts because at the AOC meetings, you hear a lot of just get rid of it. And that's not a
No
solution.
answer.
I actually was surprised to hear a lot of counties or a lot of county commissioners saying, don't just get rid of it, it needs to be fixed.
Yeah.
And I've been feeling frustrated lately and my sort of go-to is like, well, just get rid of it. So, but since so many of our colleagues are saying, not just to go away with it altogether, I would be willing to consider.
Yeah.
Information you're talking about.
Well, I will, before we have anything on the agenda, we will share that position statement or a bitten version of it. I don't know whether we really need to redo their work. That Lane County position statement's already been reviewed by April and Damian. And I sent it to Rick and to Rachel.
That would be helpful because I don't have a lot of on the fixing 110 side, a lot of information that I need.
And if that is a, position paper, that Plain County has written, that you're interested in modeling, we could also, if helpful, have CFM join you for a discussion about, what their thoughts are.
Yeah.
If you want inputs from them, or if you want to have them help craft in any way.
I don't think that we need to take their time.
Okay, well.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, I think that, if we take. This is gonna be a legislative decision regardless of what happens, but the thing I like so much about the Lane County position is that it really does explain how Measure 110 lands on a county. And the actual implications at the local level. And that I think nuance is missed so often. But I've been told by folks that it would be helpful to have us weigh in.
It sounds like a very worthwhile effort.
And then the last thing I'd like to bring forward is we did hear back from Jack Lehman.
Just to finish up, if we do come up with a position, we should get that to CFM.
Oh, absolutely,
Just so they know
absolutely.
where we stand.
Yep.
Sorry.
We did get an email message yesterday from Jack Lehman about a conversation with Republic Services. I think it went only to Rachel and to me. So wanted to circle back. I tried to call Jack yesterday to follow up with him by phone. Because what he was originally talking about was a conversation with Republic Services rather than something where we could be observers of. And when Vance commented on having more than one commissioner there, he was talking about us being observers to a conversation. And those are very different things. So I wanted to, have this conversation about who should participate, how we should do that. And I do think it's important to have one of us at the table.
Well, without more I feel uncomfortable just with the unknown and the optics of it. If people think, we already get accused of, oh, the county is helping Republic or they're, they just want Republic's money or they're aligned with Republic. So I feel nervous that the optics of it would, oh, we're supporting. And what is this one commissioner saying? Are they representing the whole county? They're representing the board? But then I guess if we don't go, then are they gonna say, why is the county?
Exactly.
Here? But I think, we do. I don't know, it's a very. I'm
And
very
we
nervous.
push back.
I'm nervous.
One of the things that I wanted to do and why I wanted to talk to Jack on the phone or to Dan was to find out what their intention was for this meeting. Because I know that Dan Rayfield himself has taken position in support of
Right.
the strike, right? They're no longer on strike at the moment, but in support of the machinists and the machine operators. And he's also written letters with respect to the environmental violations that Republic has incurred her. So I don't, from my standpoint, what I see him doing is positioning himself to take kind of a hard line and kind of investigate what the public is doing. I think that, again, we probably need to be there. Maybe it's Rachel that needs to be there. And so it's not political. That is another alternative. But I think that we need to have a seat at that table.
Yep. What was the date again?
Look at my email. Oop, I think I had it open. And I just closed it. December 20th, up to 9 AM.
Okay.
And then, of course, if they were to submit their application with the county before then we would not want to.
Yeah, maybe
we'd have to think twice about.
Mhm.
that. And yeah, if it's just the labor negotiations and the union stuff, then that's different than obviously expansion questions, but
We don't know.
we don't know. Yes, it's still, like I
don't
said,
have
it
the
just makes me nervous.
Yep.
Yep. Basically, what they said is our office is envisioning this meeting as a chance to hear directly from Republic regarding the labor dispute, expansion plans, as well as any other aspect of their operation they're interested in discussing. So it's, labor was front and center, but it's open-ended. I think Rachel, you're probably best.
Yeah, because that to me opens a door for them. Let's tell you why we need to expand.
And that's fine.
Yeah.
If we can get that intelligence directly from them, that's fine, you know?
It just can to be perceived by the public that we're giving them special treatment.
I think that we just need to say this was a meeting we were invited to by Speaker Rayfield.
Well, we also have people online sharing their version of information and people run this.
Right.
Okay.
Any other updates before I know.
I'll just say that I do like having the opportunity to share updates, and if we don't have any, we can just say, oh, we don't have any,
Yeah.
at least it's on there if we do have some.
I have updates.
Awesome.
Quickly, I'm gonna go so fast because I need to go. Met with the EOC, really thoughtful, good conversation with Brian. It's been long overdue. Talked a lot about preparedness and training, not only with our own employees on some of the key factors. I am meeting with members of the DSAC board individually. I met with someone last week. They've been sharing correspondence. Hopefully it's a fruitful conversation. I have a meeting now with our community development director, and we should be having some recommendations for you at the end of January. I also met with Dial-A-Bus on some technical issues last night. Rick Krager also joined that on working through some technical issues with the new dispatch system that the county purchased, and employees of DAB were also on the committee as well when we chose this, and they're working on some technical issues. And so we did talk to those who are struggling with the app to actually schedule their driving, and that's we're looking into little by little. Change is really hard. It's difficult. The last system was 20 years old, and this is a new system. That particular company did not apply to the RFP as one of those choices. So we are just kind of working through them on a little by little, but I've committed that we are going to try to fix these shortly. We had a very good meeting last week of November. Went to the conference with two of the commissioners, learned a lot about the governor's vision and the legislative agenda. It was super productive. I thought it was a really productive conference that you can talk more about. Working on your infrastructure plan. I know it was part of Joe's goal, and then there's a buildings plan. They're kind of both. We are working with IT to get through this. So just be patient. We did have a nice meeting on an agenda. And a lot of the people pieces that we've discussed with Tracy have also been taking up time. I've also been meeting with some employees on a case-by-case basis on some issues, but really not for the public, because they're employees who are just coming, talking about how they'd like to see the county work and how they like to work with their coworkers. And I made that commitment when I started. And last Friday, I was on a tour once again to our correction facility with Commissioner Wise. And then we went to many of the programs that are very dependent on our generous state and federal funding. So it was really nice to have the governor's solutions, is it called? Regional solutions. And then she came back here and we had a nice roundtable discussion and got to have each commissioner in for a little while, talking about some of the updates as we are mapping out the future of Benton County. We have some policy objectives that we're going to be working on, and that's it for that was my 5-minute update.
Okay, I was at the leadership summit yesterday and very worthwhile. To me, the highlight of the morning was Derek Thompson, staff writer for the Atlantic, relatively young, high energy, and had some provocative ideas about how to, specifically housing, some different, well, it wasn't just housing, but how to get to from where we are now to where we want to be, and we may not have the regulatory structure that we need. That a lot of the regulations, he had a nice timeline, conservation in the early 1900s. We kind of were good at building things through the war in the 50s and 60s, and what was it, Pittsburgh, the river's on fire. Maybe we need to think about how we make things, how we operate, and that a lot of those regulations are 50 years old and at first did good things and now maybe a impediment. Anyway, provocative thinking. Talked to a lot of people there. I wasn't thrilled with the venue being in the on the floor of the Coliseum there. There weren't versus the convention center. It was hard. Convention center, big meeting room. Here you are. You go out the doors and you're in a very nice lobby with light and easy to have conversations. And here you could, if you were on the ground floor, you could loiter around the bathrooms.
Lovely.
And that was, or you could climb up 30 or 40 steps and I didn't do that very many times, but that was where the lobby area was. And the lighting, the main light was the scoreboard. So if there was a bright picture, you could actually see, and when that picture changed to something else, it was dark. Anyway, at the very end of the reception, I got to talk to Duncan Weiss briefly, and I gave him what I thought of the new venue.
Yeah.
He was, well, we've had some good comments.
Here's another one, a different point of view.
Just to me, it wasn't nearly as effective venue as traditional policy. Little things. Sometime last week, we got an email. Do we still want to be members of the Albany Chamber of Commerce? And I don't know if that's been answered. To me, I think I've been in 5 years to one meeting or one event. And I get their emails and it doesn't seem very germane
I would like to remain a member, as the liaison to Albany. And, I do attend, in the past, I've attended more events. I take a look at the schedule each time, and if the topic seems like one that's pertinent, I tend to go.
Okay.
I think it's important to maintain those relationships.
Also, we're Corvallis Chamber of Commerce.
Yes, and a Philomath Chamber of Commerce.
I just hadn't heard much. In the last year or two about what they're up to.
They are a far different body than Corvallis Chamber. They're far more conservative, and they tend to have advocacy positions that are often diametrically opposed to what Corvallis Chamber would do, but that's fine. I just think it's an important place to stay connected.
Yeah, I agree. That's a good summary.
Um,
I don't know if we need a motion to do that and just.
You know, all of the subscriptions and memberships traditionally were voted on, and I don't know that we need
I
to.
don't know that we need to,
So-
because they're basically in the budget.
Yeah,
Sure, you can always bring it back to us if we need
I
to.
think you just need to, if decisions, let Rachel know, and then we can work across some of the process.
okay, thumbs up.
Okay,
I think that's what I had. There was plenty more about leadership summit.
chips and all that.
It's a very worthwhile event, and maybe we can get you there next year, Rick.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm sorry that
Oh,
you were able to come. I just
You were out most of last week. Here's another.
Yeah.
trying to get the annual financial report.
Yeah, so I want to be mindful of Commissioner Wise's time because she has noon, so I think we're close.
Since I'm gonna be later, I just let you know. So, I'll just say I have a differing opinion of, so I agree about the venue. Not just because I went to the convention center, thought to get in for 15 minutes, paid to park, and then realized I was in the wrong spot. But just, I couldn't get out once I finally made my way back to the Moda Center. I couldn't get out. I was supposed to go meet Kirsten Green, the deputy director of DLCD, to go do the LOAC meeting, and I'm on one side and she's, I mean, you just couldn't get out, like Pat said, rows and rows of flights of stairs. You know, and there was an elevator, but then it takes you to a portion that's all screened off. I'm like, how are people with disabilities supposed to be doing this? I mean, anyway, and I will just, so I did miss the last hour, and I know these things are usually heavy on the Portland focus, but I felt like this year, maybe I'm just cranky, but it was like 99% Portland.
Yeah.
And they said that their theme was thinking big. No, their theme was Portland. It's not that bad. I mean, that was just the whole focus, in my opinion. This is maybe, like I said, me being cranky. I also, Derek Thompson did not impress me. I think he misrepresented correlations as cause and effect. And I think it's easy to sit there and talk about, well, this is wrong, and this is wrong, and this is wrong, and this is wrong. And you're all talking about it, but you're not doing anything. It's not true. We are not doing anything. We are trying, but yes, there are systems that could be addressed. I'm not gonna, I don't think ever gonna be convinced that we need to just do away with permits. Because that would cause way more messes and be more money and time and a headache to fix in the long run, all these, unpermitted uses. Anyway. So I just don't know if I'm gonna go next year.
Yeah.
I just.
I think that feedback is a good thing. I think we need to provide feedback. When I was originally registered for the event, I chose to go to an event here locally instead, partly because of the agenda. In the past, the agenda has also included breakout sessions on different themes, and there have been philanthropic foundations, for instance, or other organizations that are putting together big initiatives that have had those breakout sessions, and they've been very interactive opportunities for people to engage on a topic. And there was none of that. So to me, this year, it looked like it was more hastily put together. It was not as, the agenda was not as ambitious. In the past, there's been a dinner in association with this that really focuses on the Association of Oregon Counties and the county business community relationship. That didn't happen. So there were a lot of elements that just did not come together this year for whatever reason. So I think feedback to Duncan Wise and the folks at Oregon Business is probably worthwhile.
Sure. I was hoping we'd get like that little automated, like, survey, like, give us your feedback.
Yeah.
So watch that.
what I did choose to go to, that I didn't mention, is that I was here at a meeting between Council of Governments and Community Services Consortium. It was the facilitated meeting for the Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Justice action plan for the two agencies. And so it was conducted in parallel with work groups for COG and work groups for the CSC. And then in the afternoon, we melded those two because the diversity, equity, and inclusion plan will eventually be a joint plan with some parallel elements because of the fact that the two entities are operating more and more closely together. It was very well facilitated. It was interesting. Everything from line staff up through supervisors and managers, and then the two directors of the two organizations. On the CSC side, they had invited community participants as well from the community the advisory council, the CAC for CSC. And all each of the executive committee members were invited from the governing board for CSC. I was the only commissioner that attended, however, and that was great. It was great to see that kind of synergy and to see what's possible in terms of putting together this kind of a plan, thinking about the county and the fact that we still haven't put together either an assessment or a plan for our own work. And I learned a fair bit, so it's good. Yeah.
Thank you for going to that.
Thank you. It was interesting.
Well, part of this, I mean, there's back to the leadership summit, part of it's an official program and to me, at least as important as the conversations in the hall with people that are there. And I'll mention a couple, Jay Ward, and who's Energy Trust of Oregon, who yesterday was his last day. He's retiring, but they have some funding, and he suggested that our EOC might qualify for dollars to install backup batteries and maybe some other things. And I'll get with Gary Stockoff to see if, if we were already on track for that.
They've been talking to folks already. They talked to DLR folks down at AOC when Jay was down there.
I had a nice conversation with former Representative Brian Clem, who's leading the, I don't know, heavily involved in the Coos Bay becoming a major port. And it's a several $billion project. And but Brian's from Coos Bay, and so got being.
And it's competing with the I-5
Yep.
project that it sounds like the governor wants, and
The bridge.
the
Yep.
bridge, and it's in our track record as we get one federal project. The state.
Well, and there's other ports that are clamoring for upgrading them, but he just got back from East Asia and talking to shippers, and shippers are at least a couple are interested. So when I first heard about this a year ago, I was, oh, this is never gonna happen, but they're still working on it. So that was fun. Last Senator Elizabeth Steiner, who's running for state treasurer, but as a wildfire fund concept, I don't think it's fully formed yet to take some of the pressure for fire suppression from landowners, forest landowners, to everybody who pays property taxes and should pay a little something. Interesting. Plus, she's going to be at but Benton County Democrats holiday party this Thursday. So, anyway. There's a formal program and then there's interesting people to talk to and that's, part of, I think, the value of this effort. And that's what I have. Anything else? You've got 4 minutes.
To drive across town.
Go fast.
All right. If there's nothing else. Meeting adjourned.
Thank you. I had an 11 and a 11:30 and a 12, but
Yeah,
I thought it was gonna be quicker.
it's, yeah,
You never know, I know.
well, and.
So we don't, we know those are gonna go along.
The Hope Board stuff,
Yeah.
yeah.
Or the homelessness stuff, sorry to interrupt you. But I agree.
This meeting often goes until 2 o'clock.
I know. We'll order lunch, it's before noon. We'll order lunch, so.
But I know during the legislature, so it's very helpful.
I found them to be very thoughtful and engaged, yeah.
That, yeah, that's 3 pretty bright legislative members that would be in a efficient position.
Darren's finalists.
Oh,
Thank you.
Dr. Meredith Howell yesterday.
Oh, great.
Just had a good conversation with her. She's very helpful with some ideas.
She's a great resource
And
and
very pleasant, so.
wants to help.
Yeah, she's actually, she'd been part of NeighborWorks, was it NeighborWorks?
Yes.
And so I'm familiar with that particular CDC in the past.